Hey everybody, this is Steve, and I'm coming at you on the Monday of fake break. I wanted to record a video to give you a few updates on things. The first thing is I want to let you all know that I have recorded the participation grades for the first half of the semester. There's a little less discussion in the second half of the semester because of some of the activities that we have. So I decided to call midterm for participation actually February 17th. So the readings and discussions that we had last week are the endpoint. And what I do is I convert those letter grades into a number that's based on what I think that you got for participation. And so that's what you get for the first half of the semester. The second half of the semester, which began essentially last week, is a whole different grade. So one way that you can improve this grade if you didn't do as well as you thought that you would like to have done is participate more. And remember, you want to get an A, you want to start on time, and you want to comment on at least 2 different occasions, preferably about 12 hours apart on each one of those. Okay. Thing number 2 is I've talked with everyone about the getting started with your discourse community project and also about the Web of Science. Let me talk a little bit about the revision process first for the the discourse communities project. And this information is in the syllabus too. So the first thing that has to happen is after I give you back a grade and comments and stuff like that, and we talked about this a little bit together in our conference. The first thing you need to do is look over those comments, my comments, the comments from your peers, and really think about like some of the changes and advice, changes that they're suggesting, the advice that they're suggesting, and really think about like what part of that advice do you want to follow, what do you not want to follow, what do you want to do to improve your essay. In other words, think about that stuff before we talk again. Okay. The first step, though, if you want to revise, is that we need to set up another conference. So you contact me and let me know when you want to meet, and we'll figure out a time that works for both of us. And we'll do it via Zoom, of course, and for about 20, 30 minutes, that kind of thing. When we meet, you need to have some version of a plan. So in other words, that's why you need to look over those comments ahead of time and to have questions about them. And don't just say to me, well, I'm going to make it better. I mean, everyone's going to do that. I mean, literally, what are you going to do? And you can even start making some of those changes and say, is this the right direction and things like that. You can revise each of the 3 major projects. Practically speaking, it's difficult to revise the last project because that's due very close at the end of the semester. We don't necessarily have a lot of time to meet to talk about it, and you might not have as much time to revise it. But in theory, you can revise all 3 of the projects. And the grade can go up to whatever level of grade you can earn minus whatever penalty. So in other words, if you were late turning something in and I deducted a letter grade or something like that, you can't get that back. But if you started with a C and you do a really good revision, you can indeed get an A. Practically speaking, it's easier to revise something from a C to a B or from a B to an A than it is to revise it up to multiple letters, but that can also happen. You get 1 chance to revise each one of these projects. So you can't say, is it an A now? No, let me revise it some more. Is it an A now? So none of that kind of business. And the revisions are all due at the end of the semester. Okay, so you won't turn those in until finals week. Last but not least, and this is one of the reasons why we also need to meet, is you need to revise strategically. And what I mean by that is that everyone can always do better if you go back to a project to try to make changes to it. But the question is, like, is it worth the time and effort to make those changes relative to the grade for the class? So for example, let's say you want to get an A in this class, but everything that you've done up to this point, participation and the other projects in the class, has been in the B, like the B minus territory, you're probably going to get like a B or B minus. It's going to be very difficult to revise beyond that. Okay. On the other hand, if you're right between grades, like you're between a C and a B, or between a B and an A, or between a B and a B plus, if that difference matters to you, if you're right on the cusp, that's where revision really comes into play, because that really can make a big difference in terms of the grade. So we'll talk through that together in terms of what makes the most sense to revise to improve the grade. And sometimes what that means is it makes more sense to revise a project that you get a lower grade on that you don't really want to go back to, because it actually can make a difference in terms of the grade and things like that. Practically speaking, to get an A in the class, you kind of have to get at least a very high A on one of the major projects and usually 2 A's. So if you're in that sort of like, I really want to get an A in this class thing, then you for sure want to talk to me about revision. Same is true if you're getting a C right now and you want to get a B and things like that. Okay. Let me close by talking a little bit about the Web of Science. There's one thing that I didn't tell some of you that I wanted to make sure I shared with everybody, and that's how you actually find one of these articles from the Web of Science database after, like how you find it in the EMU library. So here, watch this. A entry from the Web of Science database. I had done a search for the journal, American Journal of Public Health. I sorted it so the most frequently cited articles are appearing at the top. And one thing I didn't talk about was how do you actually get a hold of these articles? So let's take this one as an example. And how you get a hold of them is kind of a variable. So if I click on this link, and then I get to this article. Now, if you get this little link here where it says EMU find text, give that a try. This has been a problem though, at least for me, where a lot of these links don't come up. So then you've got a couple of different choices of how to find this. You could do a search based completely on the title of this article in the EMU library. So to do that, you go here and just right in the search bar, just put it in quotes. And what this does, this is sort of like Google for stuff you find in the library. So it'll do a search for every database and things like that for that phrase, okay? Now, one of the problems of this is that usually these links for things like in the American Journal of Public Health actually show up in this database, okay? Now, this isn't actually the journal. This is a database from the National Institutes of Health, okay? And you can read this, and if you really, this is the only thing you can get a hold of, then you can cite this as well. But I would suggest that you instead do a search of the library data. So what I did here instead is I entered into the search the name of the journal, American Journal of Public Health. These are the results I get for it. And then once I click on it, I get to this part here where in terms of the links of how it's available online. And I have gone to this database in the ProQuest just by simply clicking on that link, okay? Now what I need to do is I need to find in the journal where this is. And so I have to go back to my Web of Science thing and say, Volume 100, Issue 6. So I click over here. And Issue 6 is actually in June. Then I can view the issue. And what was this article called again? Obesity Stigma? Obesity Stigma, Important Considerations for Public Health. And then what I can get when I click here is full text. And that's the actual PDF. This is actually how the article appeared when it was first published. Okay? The content is basically the same, but this is a little bit easier to cite because now you can cite the page numbers for this, you can cite the journal title and all this other kind of stuff like that. You have all the information that you need to cite it as a print source. Hopefully that makes sense. And I really do encourage you to go through that effort. I mean, one of the things I want folks to work on in this next project is citation practices. Something I said to everybody too when we talked was, I don't want to get too bogged down in the details of it, in part because it's boring to teach and it's boring to do and it's just nitpicky and all that kind of stuff. I don't really want to, and it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the clarity of how you explain all this in your essay. At the same time, citation matters. So you need to go through the process of trying to cite things with page numbers as much as you can, to have titles as italics for journal titles and article titles and quotes and all that kind of business. Okay. I think that's it for now. Have a good faux break. And I'll be online off and on. So if while you're working on this project, which we'll start peer reviewing the Wednesday after break, if you have questions or whatever, just let me know. Otherwise, take a little bit of time off and we'll get back to it next week.